I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. We met in college, had what I thought was a solid, loving relationship. We got married a little over 3 years ago, and honestly, I thought we were good, happy even. Sure, we had our arguments as everyone does, but I never suspected anything was seriously wrong. Lately, though, things felt off. She was more distant, snapping at me over little things, constantly on her phone. She'd cancel plans last minute, and when I pressed her about it, she'd brush me off, say she was stressed from work or needed some me time. I figured it was just the normal ups and downs, stress from work, maybe menopause, or whatever other bullshit excuse she'd throw out. I tried to give her space, tried not to push, but I felt this nagging doubt growing inside me. Then came the signs that whatever was going on might be worse than I thought. She started dressing up more for work, wearing these tight skirts and high heels, and I caught her in few little lies about where she was. She'd say she was working late or meeting a friend, but I'd find out she'd been at some bar or I dunno, out with her boss, an arrogant, sleazy guy named Brad. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, and I'd ask her about it, but she'd just roll her eyes and say I was paranoid or imagining things. It's funny how you start noticing tiny things, like how she'd leave her phone face down all the time, even when she was in the shower. Or how she'd get super defensive if I asked who she was texting. I'd ask her once, "Who's James?" Because I saw a message pop up from him on her phone. She looked surprised, then said, "Just a coworker, Mark, you're being paranoid." But I knew better, I knew I wasn't crazy. One night I decided to follow her. I didn't plan it, I just felt this weird urge to see if she was really where she said she was. It was late, about 10 p.m., and I waited until she left the house. I followed her car from a distance, and wouldn't you believe it? She drove straight to the hotel district, to a place I knew she'd never stay alone. She checked into this cheap motel with some guy who looked like he hated his life. I parked across the street, got out of my car, and watched. What I saw next froze me in place. She was in the hotel room and she was laughing, flirting, something I'd never seen her do with me before. Then the door opened, and this guy, definitely her boss Brad, stepped in behind her. They were practically all over each other, kissing and touching like they'd known each other forever. I heard her tell him something I couldn't catch, but her tone was flirtatious, confident, like she was giving him a show. I wanted to run over, shout, punch the wall, but I couldn't move. My stomach sank. My heart was pounding so loud I thought I'd throw up. I didn't need to see more. I took a step back, got in my car, and drove home in a fog. I kept replaying everything I saw and heard. This wasn't some innocent affair. It was something real, something disgusting. I saw her cheat on me in the worst way possible with her boss, the guy she always said she hated. I'd trusted her. I'd believed in us. Now, I didn't even know who she was anymore. And the worst part, she'd lied to my face for months. Lied to me about where she was, who she was with, what she wanted. That night changed everything. I knew I couldn't just pretend I hadn't seen it. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This was betrayal on a level I'd never experienced. I had to confront her, but I didn't know how to prepare myself for what was coming. I still stayed up all night, just sitting there, trying to process what I'd seen and what I was about to do. I knew she'd deny it, lie her way out of it, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, replaying everything I saw the night before, her laughing with Brad, the way she looked at him like he was the only thing that mattered. It was like a punch to the gut every time I thought about it. I wanted to believe I was overreacting, that maybe I was paranoid, but deep down I knew what I saw. I couldn't unsee it, and I couldn't just go back to pretending everything was normal. I decided I had to talk to her. I needed to hear it straight from her mouth, what was really going on. So I waited until she came home, trying to act like everything was fine, but inside I was simmering with anger and hurt. When she walked in, she looked annoyed, like she'd had a rough day. I kept my cool, but I asked her to sit down. "Lisa," I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "We need to talk. Yesterday I followed you. I saw you go to the hotel district, checked into that cheap motel, and I saw you with Brad. Can you explain what the hell is going on?" Her face instantly hardened. She looked me up and down, eyes cold. She scoffed and rolled her eyes. Are you serious? You've been spying on me now. That's really pathetic, Mark. Maybe you're the one with issues, not me. I clenched my fists. Cut the crap, I saw everything. You're cheating on me with your boss. How long has this been going on? How many times? She crossed her arms, that bitchy smirk curling her lips. Oh, please, you're so dramatic. Just because I went out with Brad doesn't mean I cheated. We're colleagues and sometimes we blow off steam after work. You don't know what you saw. Maybe you're just jealous because I'm a successful woman and you're, I don't know, insecure. She looked at me like I was the one with the problem, like I was overreacting. I couldn't take her bullshit anymore. I just stared at her, feeling my blood boil. Don't lie to me. I saw you with him. I saw how you looked at him. You're not fooling anyone, Lisa. I trusted you and you betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. She rolled her eyes again, her tone turning bitchy. Fine, maybe I did see him. Maybe I was with him, but it doesn't mean it's what you think. You're so insecure, always accusing me of cheating. Maybe you're the one who's been messing around. Ever think of that? That was it. I felt my stomach churn. My fists clenched so tight I thought I'd break something. I couldn't believe her. She sat there lying, throwing accusations back at me like I was the one at fault. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and utter disgust all at once. I wanted to scream, to shake her, but I kept my composure barely. Instead, I told her I needed some space and that we had to talk about this later. Walking out of the house, I felt numb. My mind kept bouncing between anger and sadness. I'd loved her. I still loved her, but I couldn't ignore what I'd seen. How could she do this? How could she lie so easily, so convincingly? It felt like my entire world had shattered overnight. I kept asking myself if I should confront her more, if I should demand the truth, but part of me already knew. I'd seen enough. Later that day, I started digging through her things, trying to find any more evidence, anything I could use to understand how deep this betrayal went. I found a few text messages from Brad, flirty, suggestive, almost desperate. She'd been hiding so much, so many little lies piling up like a mountain. And the worst part was knowing that this wasn't just a one-time thing, it was ongoing. I'd seen her with him, heard her laugh, watched her pretend everything was normal when behind closed doors she was messing around with her boss. It hurt more than I ever thought possible. I felt humiliated, broken, and furious. I kept telling myself I should just leave, walk away and forget her, but a small part of me still hoped maybe she'd come clean, maybe she'd realize what she'd done and try to fix it. That hope was dying fast, though. I could see her true colors now. She was a liar, a manipulator, and she didn't care about our vows or the life we built. As I sat there, looking at all the evidence I'd gathered, I knew this was just the beginning. This betrayal, this heartbreak, it was going to change everything. I didn't have all the answers yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep pretending. I had to decide what I wanted from here. And honestly, part of me was already preparing to walk away. After I spent the day gathering everything I could find, I felt like I was walking through a fog, like I was stuck in some nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, that smug little smirk she gave me when I confronted her. She was so quick to lie, so dismissive of what she'd done. It was like I was nothing to her anymore, just some guy she married out of convenience or boredom. The thought tore me apart, honestly. That evening, I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay. I had to confront her again, this time face to face. I waited until she got home from wherever she was, feeling more angry than ever. There was no way I was just going to let her brush this off. I needed answers, and I needed her to understand just how much she'd hurt me. When she walked in, I was already sitting on the couch, my arms crossed, waiting. She looked annoyed, probably because she knew I'd found out something. She sat down across from me, trying to act innocent, like I was overreacting. Her whole attitude just made me sicker to my stomach. "Lisa," I said, voice low but firm, "I want hear it from you. Who is he really? How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "You're the one ruining everything. I can't believe you're throwing accusations around without proof. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating. Maybe you're just too insecure to handle me having a life outside of you." That was the moment I snapped. I couldn't take her bullshit anymore. "Enough," I said, voice rising. "I saw you. I followed you. You're sleeping with your boss, Brad. Don't lie to me. I know the truth. Her eyes widened for a second, then narrowed again. You're really delusional. Brad's just a coworker. We talk, we have drinks after work sometimes. That doesn't mean I cheated. You're just mad because I don't want to be your little obedient wife anymore. Her words hit me like a punch, but I pushed through. You're lying. I saw the way you looked at him, the way he touched you. I saw you laughing in that hotel room, acting like you were so in love with him. How can you sit there and lie to my face? She scoffed again, crossing her arms. Look, Mark, maybe I did see someone else, but it's not what you think. I deserved a little fun, and you're just too damn insecure to handle it. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating on me, huh? That was it. I felt rage boiling over. I'd never seen her so manipulative, so cold. I couldn't believe how easily she spun her lies, how much she was willing to betray me just to cover her ass. I stood up, my fists clenched, heart pounding in my chest. I'm done, I said, voice trembling with emotion. I don't want to hear any more lies. I'm leaving, Lisa. I need to get out of this house before I do something I regret. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, like she was amused that I was finally breaking. Go ahead, she sneered. Good luck finding someone who puts up with your insecure bullshit. You're not worth it, Mark. I stared at her for a long moment, feeling my stomach turn. The betrayal was so deep, so raw, that I honestly didn't know what to feel anymore. Sadness, anger, disgust, all of it at once. I knew I couldn't stay here, not anymore. I gathered a few things, not even bothering to hide my tears or my anger. I just packed a bag, told her I'd be at my brother's place for a while, and left. Driving away from that house, I felt like I was leaving my life behind. Every mile I put between us felt like a small death. I kept thinking about everything I'd trusted, everything I'd believed in. How she'd lied to me, manipulated me, and made me feel like I was the crazy one when she was the one screwing around. The pain was almost unbearable, but I knew I had to face it, had to accept what was happening. I spent the night trying to sleep, but all I could do was replay the scene in my head. The way she smiled as she lied, the way she looked at Brad like he was her world. I hated her for it. I hated myself for not seeing it sooner. But part of me also felt relief, some sick part that was glad to finally get the truth out in the open. Because now I knew, and I knew I'd never love her the same way again. The following days were a blur. I stayed with my brother, trying to keep myself busy, but honestly my mind was a mess. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, the overwhelming sense that I'd been played for a fool. Knowing my wife had been lying to my face, sneaking around, sharing her bed with her boss, it was hard to even breathe sometimes. I kept asking myself how I didn't see it, how I missed all the signs, how I let her get away with it for so long. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Brad in that hotel room. The way she laughed so freely, so confidently. She looked happy, like she didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, I was sitting at home, clueless, trying to pretend everything was fine. Now I knew the truth, and it felt like my insides were twisting. I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. I was crushed that the person I'd trusted most in the world had turned out to be a liar, a cheat. I spent hours thinking about what to do next. I knew I couldn't just ignore it or sweep it under the rug. I had to decide whether I was going to fight for us, or if I was just going to cut ties and move on. The thought of losing her completely was unbearable, but I also couldn't see myself staying with someone who had betrayed me so deeply. One thing I knew for sure was that I wasn't going to let her get away with it without consequences. I wanted her to know that I wasn't some naive fool who'd just accept her lies. I had to do something to make her regret it, to teach her a lesson she wouldn't forget. That's when I started planning my revenge. Not the childish kind, but something calculated, something that would hit her where it hurt. I spent a few days quietly gathering evidence, screenshots of texts from Brad, pictures I managed to sneak from her phone, even recordings I made of her talking on the phone when she thought I wasn't listening. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just angry, I was determined. I was going to make her face the reality of what she'd done, and if she thought she could just lie her way out of it, she was dead wrong. One night I decided to confront her with everything I'd found. I knew she'd deny it, try to manipulate me, or turn it around on me. That's exactly what she did. She sat across from me, calm and bitchy, and tried to pretend like she was the innocent victim. She threw out all sorts of excuses, saying I was insecure, that Brad was just a mentor, that I was overreacting because I was jealous or threatened. It was pathetic. She looked so confident lying to my face, but I saw the cracks in her facade. The way her voice trembled just a little when I brought up the pictures. The way she avoided eye contact when I played the recordings. What I couldn't believe was how good she was at lying. She'd twist everything around, call me crazy, accuse me of spying on her, say I destroyed our marriage over some baseless suspicions. But I had enough. I told her I wasn't going to play her game anymore. I pulled out the evidence and laid it on the table. Her face went pale when I showed her the screenshots and recordings. She looked stunned for a moment, then her bitchy attitude came back. She scoffed and said, "You're paranoid. You've lost your mind, Mark. You're just jealous. Brad and I are just coworkers. You're crazy for thinking anything else." I felt my jaw tight. "No, Lisa, I saw you. I heard you. Don't lie anymore. I'm done being manipulated. This is over." Her face twisted into a sneer. "Fine. If you want to ruin everything, go ahead. But you're just making yourself look desperate. I don't care anymore. I'll leave if I have to. Brad doesn't want to be with a clingy wife anyway." That moment, I knew I had to make a decision. I couldn't keep going like this. I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent or that it was all just some misunderstanding. The pain was too raw, but I also felt this strange sense of clarity. I realized that I deserved better than someone who lied, cheated, and dismissed everything I felt. I told her it was over. I told her I needed time to think, to figure out what I really wanted. I said I'd be staying at my brother's place for now, and I did. Want to see her or hear from her unless it was about us ending things properly. She just looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she was amused by how much she was hurting me, how much she was still in control. Walking out that night, I felt empty, hollow. I'd fought as hard as I could, and I'd shown her I wasn't going to be a doormat. It didn't make the pain any easier, but at least I knew I was taking a stand. Deep down, I knew this wasn't just about cheating or lying. It was about respect, dignity, and self-worth. And I wasn't going to let her take that from me without a fight. Not anymore. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotion. I stayed with my brother trying to piece myself back together, but it was impossible to ignore the ache inside. Every time I thought about Lisa, that bitchy, manipulative woman I married, I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd never been so blindsided in my life. She had played me like a damn fool, lying with her boss, pretending everything was fine, all while I was clueless at home. It was a brutal wake-up call that trust, once broken, doesn't come back easily. I threw myself into work trying to keep busy, but the truth was, nothing helped ease the pain. I kept replaying the moment I confronted her, her smirk, her dismissiveness, the way she thought she was untouchable. She'd always been a bit of a bitch, but this was something else. It was like she didn't even care that she'd shattered everything we had. I thought about calling her, about telling her how much she'd hurt me, but I hesitated. Part of me wanted to hear her try to justify herself, to see if she'd actually admit what she'd done. The other part knew it was better to leave her alone. One night I was lying awake, staring at the ceiling when I decided I needed closure. I called her. No, I didn't want to fight. I just wanted to have a conversation, to hear her voice and see if she'd try to spin her lies again. She picked up quickly, her tone still that sassy, bitchy attitude that I'd come to hate. "Mark," she said sweetly, like we were just talking about the weather. "What do you want?" "Look, Lisa," I started, my voice steady but cold. "I need to know why. Why did you do it? Why Brad? Why lie to me for so long?" There was a pause, then she sighed like I was bothering her. "Honestly, you're so boring, Mark. You're always working, never paying attention. Brad's exciting, and I guess I just got caught up in the moment. It meant nothing really, just sex, that's all." I almost laughed at how she was trying to downplay it. "It meant nothing to you. You fucked your boss in a hotel room while we were supposed to be building a life together. How could you say it meant nothing?" She shrugged. "People fuck up, Mark. It's not the end of the world. I still love you in my own way. I just needed some excitement, some validation. I don't know, maybe I thought you'd never notice I was slipping away." Hearing her say that made my stomach turn. "So you cheated, lied, manipulated me, and you still love me. That's a sick joke. You don't love me. You just used me to get whatever you wanted. She got defensive, her voice sharp. You're overreacting. I'm not some villain. I made mistakes, sure, but I still want us to work if you're willing. That was the final straw. I felt the rage boil over. I told her I was done, that I didn't want to hear any more lies. I said I'd be moving out, that I was going to start over somewhere else. I told her she'd burn in hell for what she'd done, and that I never wanted to see her again. After hanging up, I sat alone in the dark, heart heavy. I knew I was making the right choice, but that didn't make it hurt any less. I'd loved her once, believed in us, and now I was just another guy left broken by the woman he thought was his everything. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and lost. But deep down, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I'd been played, lied to, and used, but I wasn't going to let her ruin me. I was going to pick up the pieces, rebuild, and learn from this nightmare. Because if there's one thing I know now, it's that trust is fragile, and once shattered, it's damn hard to fix. And some people, no matter how much you love them, just aren't worth the pain they cause. The weeks that followed were a brutal mix of relief and heartbreak. I moved out of the house, stayed in a tiny apartment, trying to piece my life back together. It wasn't easy. Every day reminded me of what I lost, of the woman I thought I knew. But at the same time, I felt a strange weight lifting. I no longer had to pretend I was okay with her lies, her cheating, her manipulative attitude. I finally saw her for what she really was, a selfish, bitchy woman who only cared about herself, no matter who she hurt along the way. I won't lie, I had moments where I wanted to reach out to get answers or maybe even try to fix things, but I stopped myself. Deep down, I knew I couldn't go back. Not to her, not to that toxic version of our marriage. I learned a lot from this whole nightmare. About trust, about what it means to be betrayed, and about how sometimes the biggest act of love you can give yourself is walking away. Looking back, I realize I should have seen the signs earlier. The lies, the sneaky behavior, her dismissiveness, those were red flags I ignored because I wanted to believe in her, in us. But she was always bitchy, always manipulative, and in the end she proved to me that she didn't deserve my loyalty or my love. That realization was painful but necessary. I've started to rebuild my life. I've cut ties with her completely, blocked her on social media, and focused on myself. I've started therapy, which helps me process everything, and I've realized that I deserve someone who respects me, who values honesty and loyalty. I've learned the hard way that not everyone is worth fighting for, and sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away before you get further hurt. Honestly, I don't regret what I did, exposing her, confronting her, leaving her. It hurt like hell, but I know I've gained something precious: clarity. A clear mind, a stronger sense of self-worth, and a vow to never settle for less again. I hope everyone out there listening to this remembers that betrayal cuts deep, but it also gives you the chance to grow, to learn who your real friends are, what you're willing to accept, and how to stand up for yourself. So here's what I want to say: trust is fragile. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to fix. And some people, no matter how tightly you cling, they aren't worth the pain of holding on. Keep your head up, trust your gut, and never let anyone make you believe you're worth less than you are. Because in the end, your own self-respect is what matters most.